Hi everybody, welcome back to Game On, show all about tabletop gaming from RPGs to board games and everything in between. Matt, your name is Matt.
You're correct.
Cool.
Today I am Matt.
Today, you are Matt.
Playing the part of Matt for today will be...
Justin.
No.
Oh.
That's not how it works.
No, okay.
This is going on. Starting off well.
What do you want me? Would you like me to restart?
No.
Okay. We have a...
This is how people know that we don't rehearse these things.
Yeah, we don't. Okay, so we have a viewer question.
Can't wait.
Asked from us directly on our YouTube channel.
Thank you. Who did it? Who asked?
Let's Game 474.
Let's Game 474. Thank you, sir, for your thoughtful question.
Oh, we don't know it's a sir.
Oh, damn. I'm sorry. I'm playing the demographic averages here, but you're absolutely right. It's 2023.
Should combat in RPGs be simultaneous? So if you happen to go last, you can at least play before your character gets knocked unconscious. Battletech is simultaneous combat.
Indeed.
And I think old GDW games had it.
I think you might be right on that one, too.
How would you implement that into a game like Starfinder or World of Darkness?
Oh my. Well, it just so happens, I've actually talked about this in some previous videos and thought about it extensively.
He has.
You asked an innocent and good question that you may end up being sorry that you asked.
Open up Pandora's box.
So, okay. Simultaneous combat is really an indirect question about initiative, right?
Right.
And whether or not initiative should translate into taking an action before somebody else or simply planning an action before somebody else. And that boils down to whether or not your game system uses initiative, which most have some version of that. And if you're going to have initiative, how then to give the advantage of that?
Right.
And really, functionally, the only way to do simultaneous combat, and your examples sort of reference this, battletech in particular, the system treats movement and attack as two different phases of the combat round. And they have to be that if you're going to do simultaneous combat, right? And you're going to have initiative as part of your game. Because if you do, say, like D&D, where you move and attack as one continuous kind of flow movement, your initiative dictates what order you do those things in, and the advantage is in going first. You have no idea what your opponents are going to do. You simply do your thing and hope that your thing is more effective or is effective enough that your opponent doesn't get to do their thing. But if you have movement and attack be separate phases,
yes,
you can see what your opponent, if you win initiative, you want to move second.
Yes.
Right?
Which sounds counterintuitive to some people.
Right. It does sound counterintuitive, but it's important because it's all about knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Knowing what your opponent is doing before you decide what you're going to do. You get to counterpunch whatever they want. And then the actual resolution of combat, the attack and the damage phases, whatever the results of it are, those are simultaneous.
Yeah.
That's what Battletech does, which is why the person who wins initiative in Battletech moves second. The person who loses declares first. They go and make their movement, they position their pieces, their players, their mechs, what have you.
Yeah.
And then the winner gets to see the board and respond. And then all the combat resolves simultaneously. If you were to move first, the other person can counter move you and get out of range, block off your attacks before you ever have a chance to declare them.
Yeah.
So it's really, I've talked about this before, smart versus dumb initiative and strong versus weak initiative, right? Strong and weak is if you have a system where you move and attack in one phase.
Okay.
Then you don't know what the other player is doing, but you don't care because you just want to thump on them before they have a chance to do anything.
Yes.
Right? That's not what our questioner is asking about. They want simultaneous combat. So therefore, initiative has to go inverted where the winner goes second. I suggest that there's also an advantage in having even though the effects of combat are simultaneous, they obviously can't take place at the exact same time system-wise. People roll dice one at a time. It benefits the winner of the initiative to have the loser roll their attack dice first. Even though they don't take effect first, it transpires first in terms of the play at the table. And the reason is the winner can then see how effective the opponent's attack was.
Okay.
Not just the opponent, but fellow players. Right? Let's say 3 of your teammates are going to attack the same opponent. The first one knocks it to half hit points. The second one finishes him off. You haven't gone yet. You won initiative. You get to see that they just did more damage than that opponent is going to be able to take.
Okay.
You can then choose to redirect your attack to somebody else. Even though it all takes place at the same time and resolves the same way, you can target more intelligently what you're going to do based on what you've seen transpire roles and mechanics wise at the table. Now that's not necessary for simultaneous combat, but I think it's an added bonus for initiatives. So I happen to love the way battletech does stuff. I was a player back in the 80s in the original version of it, and it's one of the things they do best. So I'm a big proponent of simultaneous combat. But if you're going to do that, you have to separate the movement and the combat phase of any round or turn.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're playing a game like D&D, where it's written to be one thing, you have to be willing to customize and split those two functions.
Yeah.
Or you're going to do without simultaneous combat resolution, because there's just no way to make it work if it's together. Because that means the initiative winner will never get the benefit of being able to counter move. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, it just won't happen. Or, it erases initiative from the game entirely, which I don't think is satisfying to anybody. So
I'm trying to remember how Tunnels and Trolls did, because Tunnels and Trolls had simultaneous combat as an RPG, but I don't remember if they broke up movement.
I'm not saying it can't happen.
Yeah.
Actually, I maybe am saying it can't. I have never seen an example of a game that did simultaneous combat and simultaneous combat, movement and combat being the same phase of the game, and preserving initiative. Because those 3 things can't happen together.
Yeah, I don't have the book to look at, so I don't know. There are a lot of war games who, like you said, Battletech X-Wing does that. I think Starwing does that. It's like it makes sense that as the better, like at least in X-Wing, the better pilot gets to act last because they are reactive to what somebody else is doing.
It's a question of tactics, right?
Yeah.
Having a fuller picture of the battlefield is a tactical advantage. So games that emphasize tactics will separate the two, allow you to see the movement unfold, respond appropriately, and then you resolve the combat. Now, it is possible to have movement and combat be separate phases and still not have simultaneous. Mm-hmm. Like you could still have the winner of the initiative shoot first, and if he destroys the opponent before they get to fire back, so much the better. That's strong versus weak initiative, right? Like a strong initiative means you can quick draw and kill your opponent before they get a shot off. So that makes initiative a much stronger force in combat.
Yeah.
And smart versus weak means you get to go before movement. Or you get to go second in movement and get the advantage of seeing somebody else move. Okay. Right? So smart means you go second. Strong means you shoot first.
Okay.
If you have both smart and strong initiative, that makes initiative the single most important thing in the game, and you better jack yours as high as you can. Mm-hmm. That's a relative rarity. It does exist in games, but I think it makes initiative too strong.
Okay.
So I think BattleTech does it the right way. That is smart weak initiative, meaning smart, you get to go second and respond to your opponent's movements, but the combat is resolved simultaneously, and therefore there's no big advantage to shooting first.
Okay.
Right? So, if that makes sense.
Yes.
You're sure?
To me it does, but that's because
what about you guys?
Because you've explained it to me like 14 times, so I already know.
Yeah, he's like, God, no. When he saw the question coming, he's like, this is going to be that strong, weak, smart, dumb thing.
I will say that my very quick and dirty way of fixing this for a game where everything is done on the same initiative and it doesn't solve a lot of problems, only solves really one, is that if, say, 2 people or 3 people have the same initiative, I just count them as they're going at the same time.
Yeah.
So if a monster and a player goes and the monster kills the player, well, the player still gets to go because it's on the same turn as the monster. They slay each other and they both go down.
Right. Well, but somebody does get to go first in the sense that somebody gets to move first.
Yeah.
Right?
Like I said, it wasn't really a fix. It's just...
Yeah, no, it's better than nothing, for sure.
Yeah.
But again, a game like D&D, it's not tactical, so it doesn't really matter that much, I guess.
Yeah. The Shadows of the Demon Lord does something that I kind of like, but it doesn't really fully address the problem. It's just the players always go first and they choose what they want to do. So they do the whole thing where it's move and attack in the same go around, but it's like players always go first.
They win dumb initiative every round.
Yeah. And then they can choose amongst themselves who wants to go first.
Right.
For what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just because Shadow of the Demon Lord is a little bit more lethal and it kind of gives them the ability to stay alive a little bit easier.
Sure.
Which is nice. I like games that change stuff up like that. I think it's fun. But as for like making how can you implement simultaneous combat into an already established game, like you said before, you just have to tear it apart and rebuild it yourself.
Assuming the game doesn't already separate those factors, right? So many games do, in which case it's easy to just say combat simultaneous and you resolve it normally, but you don't implement the effects until the round is over.
Yeah.
Right? So you're just delaying the effect of the combat. But if it's not separate, that's when you have to do some rejiggering of the system in order to make it separate. And it's not that hard. I mean, you could easily do that in D&D.
Okay.
Right? Like you just say, okay, everybody moves. Nobody attacks until everybody is moved. Huh. And now we do the attacks, right? Okay. So it really isn't... Conceptually, it might be hard for established players to break things up that way, but it really isn't that hard to do. And it does have some benefits. It does have some drawbacks too. This being said, like I love having it be separate. I'm a big fan of simultaneous combat, but it does slow things down.
Uh-huh.
Right? Because you now have 2 phases of each round instead of 1.
Yeah.
Right? So it in terms of the pace of the game, it may go a little slower. I dig it. I like simultaneous combat, and I like having a movement phase separately.
There you go.
But I wouldn't argue with people who... No, I would argue with people who disagree with me, but I respect their opinion anyway.
Okay. I don't know what I like. I've played both, and they're both just fine.
Yeah, well look, a well-designed system is fundamentally a well-designed system, regardless of the nuances of it, right?
Yeah, I'm very appreciative of the question we were asked.
Me too, especially since it lands so squarely on a subject that I love and have a lot of opinions about. But
Yes.
it's awesome that whenever we get questions, especially well thought out ones, I'm thrilled.
I'd like to hear what you guys think. Do you like this whole initiative being separated, simultaneous combat? Let us know.
What he's saying is he wants to hear from you instead of more from me. So give him lots of juicy comments so that he can shut me up. But yes, and like and subscribe and all that jazz as well. And
as always,
yes, and keep those questions and comments coming. And until next time, guys,
game on.